everyone. Good afternoon to you and welcome to the English lesson today. My name is Victoria and I'm going to be your English teacher for the next hour. Nice to see you, everyone. Let's say hi to each other in the chat. Maybe let us know where you guys are from, if you already study here. So we are going to talk about a changing language today. I am going to talk precisely about the topic in a minute or two. But first of all, I want you to have a look at the board now. Okay, have a look here and let us guess what kind of language is that. You guys study different languages, are open to the world, and perhaps you got an idea. Let's start with this short couple of lines. Okay? Anya, good guess. Something in Tatar. Let me pronounce that for you. We have a couple more guesses like Spanish, English. Thank you, Sophie. Thank you, Anastasia. This is what it sounds like. Het zomer, se bloemen zinden her. French, okay. Icelandic. Thank you. One more for Spanish. Looks like it's German. Thank you, Diana. You know, guys, actually, you're very close to the truth. The thing is, one more from Tatiana. Welsh, German from Sophie, French from Rushana. Nice to see you, Simon. Yep. Try to guess as well. This is actually English, believe it or not, but this is English, even with this sound. I'm saying hitsumer, okay? It's okay to say it this way. Se bloemen zinden her. Now, the question is, right, Natalie, you're even faster than me today. Natalie is saying that is ancient English, and Natalie is right. It's not called ancient, okay? It is called Old English. This is what English looked like and sounded like in the old times. Okay, Shakespearean. Thank you, Natalie. Shakespearean is not that old, okay? And Shakespearean language looks a bit different, but not that much different from what we get now. A good question from Marina. Marina is asking, what does that mean? What are we talking about? Good. Andre, kind of very close. Let's try to restore it. As this is English, we all speak English, then what does it have to do with what we know? Okay, let's think about this one. Het zomer. Is there summer? Right. I do not see your... Yes, right? It is English. I do not see your name, but you're right. Yes, I do. Okay. Yes, Margot, nice to meet you. Old English, right. You are right, Irat. It's summer. Tatiana is right. Good. So this one looks very familiar, right? And this sounds very familiar. We write het zomer in Old English and we restore it to what we know. It's summer. Okay, what about this one? Se bloemen zinden her. Is there anything that sounds or looks alike? Okay. Yeah, I do, Daria. Thank you. Artem is asking a very good question. Artem is writing, is it true that due to Shakespeare and his impact into English, we now have so many new words? Exactly. Totally true. Okay. Then join us, Tatiana. Maybe you can kind of dig deeper because we're also talking about a bit of history today. Similar to Spanish? Good. You know, the thing is that in the very beginning, you guys said maybe that's Spanish, maybe French or German. So maybe in the Old English, there were some of the words that she can now see or hear or meet in those languages. Yeah, I see there is a question. Is it Old English? It looks very different and hard. Actually, it's easy to read, because you actually pronounce all of the letters, all of the sounds, but yeah, it is different. It blooms. Okay. Okay, nice to see you, Platon. Look, there is an answer in the chat about blooming, and you guys are right. This one, blomman, is about blooming. Can you tell me what can bloom? Is there anything that can bloom now in summer? Flowers, right, Polina? Yes, Mark. Flowers can bloom. Exactly, Anastasia. Right, so this word that looked like bloomen in Old English now is called flowers. So we've got something, then flowers. Let's think about that se, okay? Spring trees, it's about summer, okay? Nice to see you, Tamerlan. It's not from the Shakespeare. I'm going to talk to you about the timing, okay? Very good guesses in the chat. The flowers. This se is actually there now. The flowers. Berries, maybe berries. There are not actually berries in this sentence, but we can talk about berries as well. Yes, right. So, Sebloman becomes the flowers. Sinden here. Sinden. Is there anybody who speaks German? Okay, then I'm going to just write it. Sinden became are. The flowers are. Is there anything that you know now in English that looks very similar? The flowers are. Where are they? It's summer now, and the flowers are here. Right, very good. Diana, Mark, great job. Thank you, Andrew. Right, Platon. Yes, very good. Lots of great answers. The flowers are here. This is it. This is what it looks like in today's English. Very good, right, Mariasha? A lot of words came into English from different languages, and I'm going to tell you why, okay? If we get more time, some extra time later today, I'm going to also talk to you about these phrases and explain what this means, okay? It's not a name, Sunny, but it used to be written from a capital letter. Now, just a regular letter, okay? So as we're talking about a change in language, so this is what we are going to discuss. First of all, we are going to talk a little about the English language history and why it looked so different in the old times. Daria, I'm gonna switch to Russian in a minute, okay? Give you some more explanations. Then I'm going to talk to you about the Victorian era compared to the present day. We are going to discuss some phrases with historical origins and some words and phrases that were invented on screen. Окей, ребят, вижу вопросы в чате. Да, я говорю по-русски. Стараюсь на него не переходить сегодня, так как мы с вами сегодня проходим урок продвинутого английского. Но если вопросы какие-то есть, обязательно пишите. Если еще что-то возникнет, мы в конце занятия обязательно оставим время на какие-то вопросы, на которые я могу пропустить, или вы, может быть, придете к ним чуть позже. Да, молодцы. Верно, там есть эпоха королевы Виктории, там есть у нас старый английский, древний английский, и с них мы с вами, пожалуй, и начнем. Почему же, в общем-то, тот же самый английский язык, который мы изучаем сейчас, и который мы смогли и прочитать, и осмыслить, понять, о чем вот эти простые два предложения нам говорят, почему он так сильно изменился, и почему мы сейчас не произносим те же звуки, которые произносили раньше? Okay, let's keep going. There is a brief timeline of what the history of the English language looked like. So it all started with the Roman invasion and the Latin language. If you've ever heard people speaking Latin in movies or maybe read something in the books, you can see that the sounds are kind of similar. They also have that r sound, that l sound, and different as well. Very good. Right, about Scandinavia and Normandy, you're right. Then, during the Germanic migration, there appeared a new kind of English, a modified kind of English, like Old English and Anglo-Saxon. Then, with the beginning of Christianity in the 6th century, English was evolving, and Latin, Greek, and Hebrew were fused into that. Right, Mark. They are different. They are different now, and they used to be different. But throughout the history of the language and of the world, everything was mixing. Okay? I do not have a map for you right now, Polina, but they were the tribes of Angles, of Saxons, and some other tribes that mixed. Okay, then in the 8th and 11th centuries, there was a Viking invasion, and language had some more modifications with the help of the Scandinavian languages and Old Norse. Mainly, yes. Okay. Yes, right, Polina. Scandinavian languages also affected it. Then there was a Norman invasion, and French and Latin affected the English. Yes, very similar to that, Natalia, like the Old English, right? Then some major changes happened during the 1400, during the Great Vowel Shift. That is the time when these symbols disappeared, and we don't have them in the English language right now. Okay? You cannot know that, of course, but yeah, it's always nice to learn. You're right. It's not like Greek is English. And yes, you're right, Natalia, Hebrew is Ivrit. Okay, good. Ребят, вы большие молодцы, я вижу верные предположения в чате. И, конечно, да, греческий не стал английским, английский не стал греческим, но один язык заимствовал слова из другого. Одна культура влияла на другую. Почему я здесь вам указываю какие-то знаковые события? Ну, например, с вторжением викингов скандинавские языки начали влиять на английский язык, потому что скандинавы, викинги стали жить среди англоговорящих людей. Или, ну, там, наверное, можно по-разному рассуждать. Может быть, и англоговорящие люди стали жить среди викингов. В общем, язык в любом случае претерпевал изменения. Мы с вами посмотрим, как мы можем такие же вещи наблюдать и сейчас. Right. Well done, Mariasha. Then we finally come to William Shakespeare after the printing press, the appearance of the printing press in the 1476, and the appearance of newspapers and books. And then in the year of 1604, the first English dictionary appeared, and people finally could write those words down, explain them. Okay? Yes, AD is Anno Domini, as in Russian you would say до нашей эры. Yep. Okay. Yes, Andrew, Hebrew is Ivrit. Then finally, in the year of 1564 to the 1616, there was the age of Shakespearean language. There was the time when William Shakespeare lived and created sonnets, poems, and plays. And from the 1500s or from the 16th century, the language started to be called modern English. Right now, that would sound kind of strange, right? Why would you say that it's modern if it happened 5 centuries ago? A good question, Polina. Can you ask me the same one in the end? Okay, so that I could devote some time to that. It is possible, Anna. It's all good. Depends on what your goal is. Окей, смотрите, ребят, и вот начиная со времени Шекспира, с 1564 года, английский переходит на новую ступень. И английский язык уже зовется современным английским. Казалось бы, странно, да, почему то, что произошло 5 веков назад, мы сейчас называем современным языком. Но в это время начались большие изменения, как будто бы взрыв в языке. Что же это было? Давайте пронаблюдаем. Of course, that is also true, Артем. Полина спрашивает, верно ли, что все вопросы в конце урока? Полина, нет, вы можете спрашивать вопросы и сейчас, просто если я начну говорить про произношение и акценты, на это мне нужно уделить достаточно времени, и я от темы отойду, okay? So, in the 16th or 17th centuries, there was the beginning of international trade. Imagine the countries, the tribes, the people used to live more isolated than now, and then the whole world started being connected. They started selling goods to each other, going to different places, traveling, meeting each other, and of course, they had to talk, right? If there is the trade, you have to be able to sell things, and you have to be able to buy them. So, we have to find the common tongue. Right, Sophie, you're right. Of course, right, Maria? Thank you, Marina. Very good. Right. Then, starting with the 17th century, up to 18th or the 20th century and so on, there was the expansion of the British Empire. What does that matter? What does that matter if we talk about the language? Very good. Yeah, about the schools. The English Dictionary, Tamerlan, as появление английского словаря. Когда появился словарь, и люди стали иметь возможность записывать слова, их объяснения, то есть фиксировать, что это значит. Colonies, right, Andrew? Very good. Yes. So the expansion of the British Empire, and this is what the British Empire looked like. Imagine the English language spread to all of the parts of the world that are colored red here, and those people had to be able to understand and speak English as well. So not only their language has changed, but also the English language brought something from them. Okay? Right, Andrew, you're right. Jimmy in the world, someone with the name Golden Hoops is asking about how many people speak English. A very good question from Elizaveta. Why do some of the words look one way and are pronounced the other way? Now, little by little, they became independent, Tamerlan, more or less independent. A question from Elizaveta about the pronunciation. Look, if we talk about history, and let's say Scandinavian tribes bring their words to England and they write them their way. But an English-speaking person would pronounce it differently as the English language rules prescribe him or her. Or there was the other thing. When the French invaded England, they started to change the language to not be like the English. Okay. 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 It's on the left, Tatiana. It's on the left. It's just that I'm talking about the 1920s and talking about the colonies that are acquiring the language, that used to have their language. They did not hate it. Okay, a good question from Mark. Марк интересуется, а что же тогда, почему французы тоже начали менять, еще форсировать изменения в английском языке? Ненавидели ли они, английский язык? Нет, они его не ненавидели. Но представьте, французы вторгаются на территорию современной Великобритании, захватывают ее, являются знатью и говорят на утонченном языке. Они не хотят выглядеть и звучать так же, как, скажем так, те, кого они захватили, как побежденные. И, например, в это время появляются разные слова для разных блюд или для разного вида мяса. Или, о чем я говорю здесь? О том, что, например, мясо, говядину, французы будут называть beef, свинину pork. Они не говорят pig или cow, чтобы не звучать как крестьяне, чтобы не звучать как чернь. И понемногу эти слова начали приживаться. Потом кто-то хотел звучать утонченно тоже. А еще очень много изменений появилось в английском языке также из-за французского. И ударения сдвигались подобно французскому, отваливались окончания. Yes, Senya, they gained independence. You're right. A good question from Mariasha. Why are the completely different words in British and American English, but they mean the same things, like autumn and fall? A very curious thing about autumn and fall. The word fall for autumn, for the season, actually came into the American English from the British one. And then, in the British English, the word fall changed and became autumn. But look how far the United States are. They preserved that form, fall. Now the words are different. They used to be the same. And in some ways, like rubbish and trash, for example, or to loan and to lend, the American English preserved even more than the British one. Okay. Why are they separated? I read, well, because of the distance, I believe, and because of the history. Right, it did. It did. Sorry, do not see your name, but I see some Owly nickname there. Okay. Coming back to the history. Okay, after the expansion of the British Empire, we come to the Industrial Revolution, starting from the 1760 and finishing in 1840. Then, as you've already mentioned, the First World War, the Second World War also affected the language. Such words as a blockbuster, for example, appeared during the military times, the time of the militarization. Okay? Yes, right, Mark, you are right. Sene, very good question. Sene is asking, why is English used in the USA? First of all, it was taught there. And the British English started having dictionaries. Remember the appearance of the first English dictionary. And during the Victorian era, with the appearance, attention to education, there were special books printed in England and sent to the United States to teach people how to speak the language. Okay, so we are going to stop here on the Industrial Revolution precisely and talk about the Victorian era, which is also called late modern English. As we talk about the Industrial Revolution and technology, it definitely created a need for new words, right? You create a machine, you have to name it, right? You create a mechanism and you have to name it to identify it. Then, as we talk about the Victorian era, we say that the English-speaking world was at the center of a lot of scientific progress. Scientific advances went hand in hand with the evolution of a language for the same reason. Talking about the Industrial Revolution, imagine it all started during the same ages. 1837 to 1901, there was the Industrial Revolution, scientific progress, education evolved, some new kinds of science appeared. They all had to be named. They all had to describe that, what they studied, what they created, and so on. Yes, a very big quantity of new words appeared, definitely. Very good, right. And as you can see here, here are some of the words that appeared in English during the Victorian era, because remember, the international trade, the British Empire, the Industrial Revolution, scientific progress. You have to be able to name stuff. Like the words from French, as you can see here on the screen, like ballet, crew, chocolate, detail, machine, cuisine, garage. They are all from the French language and they were fused into the English. It's not a version, okay? You know, Sina, the question is quite reasonable. Why is English a universal language for the world? First of all, coming back to the British Empire and the size of that, right? How many people in the world could speak it? Secondly, you have to be able to study it. You need the books, you need the dictionaries, and you need to be able to work in trade. So people needed something to talk. Okay, talking about the other languages, have a look here. Italian, studio, umbrella, balcony, macaroni, piano, opera, violin, and so many more, as you can see now. Maybe some of them are familiar to you. Maybe some of them sound the same in Russian. Yes, very many words were derived from the Italian and the French languages. You are right. Да, ребята, вижу комментарий, что очень много всего итальянского, испанского, французского, немецкого. Это очень справедливое замечание, потому что, если вы вернетесь к табличке небольшой с краткой историей, мы заметим там очень много вторжений, завоеваний, да, переселений. Как раз-таки между вот этими близлежащими территориями. Соответственно, не только их близкое расположение друг к другу заставляло языки меняться под воздействием друг друга, но и вот такие форсированные события, как вторжение, например. Наталья, Finnish as финский, Persian as персидский, то есть это страны Персидского залива, когда-то они были персами, говорили на персидском языке. Like Clement, Caravan, Bazaar, so on. Да, Дарья, совершенно верно. Это слова, которые в английском языке прижились из других языков, и мы до сих пор их используем. Они пришли в английский язык во время викторианской эпохи и закрепились в нем. Спасибо за помощь в чате, спасибо. And if we look into the diagram of the English words derived from different sources, we are talking about the English language nowadays, the English that we study. Okay, you can see that lots of words, 29% came from Latin and 29% came from French. A lot of words came from Germanic languages, like during the Old English time, Middle English, Old Norse, Dutch, 26% of what we got in the language right now. Okay. Talking about Greek and other languages, we got 6% there, okay? And names make 4% of the language right now. They've got so many similarities, Vlad. You are right. And, you know, you can even find language tree on the internet. You can just like Google language families or language tree and see how actually so many languages come from one. Okay, there was one proto-language that all of the people during the ancient time spoke and how they started evolving into different languages. Okay, it is right, Alexander. You're right. Thank you, Полина. Right, you're right. Да, ребят, вы правы. Это можно сказать, что такой многоязычный язык, и он развивался в тесном контакте с другими языками, с другими культурами. Заимствовал слова, звуки, правила, логику из других языков. Другие языки заимствовали что-то у английского. И если мы говорим о схожестях, например, с немецким языком, да, их будет бесчисленное множество. Ну, 26% от всего языка или 29% от французского – это огромное количество. Также посмотрите, как много слов мы сейчас используем латинского происхождения. Почему? Ну, потому что латинский был языком образования, был языком грамотности и в общем-то, одним из первых начал развиваться именно как язык, который можно изучать. Okay? Yellow and blue, Latin and French. Okay? Okay. Oh, that's a good question, Sania, about how many percent of the English words are left. Not so many, you know? There used to be Celtic words that are in the language right now, but you see they are not even counted. Perhaps they are somewhere in the other section, and there are so not many of them. Mammoths, Татьяна Мамонт. Talking about what we got today, I would also like to come back for a sec. So I want you to pay attention to the Victorian era once again. Why am I talking about the Victorian era now in 2022? Look, everything happened at once. The international trade, the British Empire, scientific progress, the Industrial Revolution, boom, the language exploded. So many things appeared, right? So many new things had to be described. And the language did not have all of those words. So we took them from everywhere in the world. What do we have now? What's happening right now? The English language today. We have a very similar situation, right? We live at the age of fast progress. New technologies, new jargons, new slangs, new toys, foods, and gadgets, they are being created every single second. They appear in the world, we have to name them, they are given names, or people give them names, right? Not because of that, Muslim. I'm not that egocentric. I'm talking about the Victorian era because it's very similar to what we get now, what we witness right now. Okay? Let me see what you're writing here. With a T. It's written with a T. It's not a mistake, Silva. Остановлюсь подробнее на том, почему я говорю о викторианской эпохе вообще сегодня, в 2022 году. Мы сейчас живем в очень похожее время. Мы живем в эпоху прогресса, очень быстрого прогресса. Да, создаются новые вещи, технологии. Наука не стоит на месте. Появляются новые понятия, новые слова должны создаваться, чтобы их называть. So, talking about the language evolving very fast. Nowadays, over 8,500 words appear every single year. Compare it with 1,000 words at the beginning of the 20th century. So the difference is dramatic. Talking about neologisms, they are being added all the time, like fashionista, nerd, unplugged, crowdsourcing, or meme. New words, something that wasn't created before, and they are created on the basis of some sphere, okay? And a very distinct feature of today's English is verbification of nouns. There are so many new words, so many of them already created. There is practically no need to create new ones if you can use the one that already exists in a language. Verbification of nouns is actually making a noun work as a verb. Let's say to thumb. This is my thumb. A thumb, it's a noun. Now I can say to thumb, right? An email, an electronic mail that you send to someone. Now you can say to email as a verb. Maybe I misprint if that's correct. Talking about kindergarten. Then to text. Text as some words and sentences, story, and you can say to text, to send a text message to someone, to Google something, to find the information on the internet. So nouns become verbs, right? То есть, такое большое количество слов у нас в английском языке существует, и когда можно обойтись существующим словом, новое не создается. Ну, например, thumb, большой палец, to thumb, поставить класс. Да? Мы превращаем существительное в глагол. Okay, and there is one more thing that is happening right now as compound words. And compound words are an increasingly common source of new vocabulary. For example, education plus entertainment is edutainment. That is what we are doing right now. We are in the process of our edutainment. We are getting some knowledge and we are talking, chatting, not being stressed, right? And Disneyfication, gastropop, infomercial, shareware, dramedy. When people combine two words together, they mix them. Good? So many questions about a kindergarten. Let me have a look. This is not a mistake. This is how the word is spelled. Okay? Any questions here, guys? Nope, okay. Right now, I want you to have a look at the phrases with historical origins. Okay, we're talking about the words. What about the phrases? I've put some of the commonly used phrases here. We're going to try to find the origin. Good? The first one here, mad as a hatter. I put some hints in the bracket. Mercurius net trade, the 18th through 19th century. Okay? Перейду на русский на минутку. Здесь перед вами фразы, которые в английском языке используются сейчас. Какие-то являются просто фразами или словосочетаниями, какие-то являются идиомами в английском языке. Но все они имеют историческое происхождение. То есть они возвращают нам, вот к той изначальной табличке с историей языка, что происходило в это время в мире и почему это слово прижилось. Okay? So the first one here is mad as a hatter. Any ideas about that? Mercurius net trade. There are some questions about the timing. We are here for an hour, and I'm going to leave some time before we finish that for your questions. So actually, Mercurius net trade is something that hatters used in the 18th and 19th century to make hats, and they got some poisoning, and they became so-called mad. That's why the phrase appeared, mad as a hatter. Later, Lewis Carroll used that phrase in Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, and it came into the language as a commonly said phrase. It's not exactly angry, it's like crazy. Mad as a hatter, as сумасшедший как шляпник. Если вы читали «Алису в стране чудес», наверняка вы вспомните, кто таким был, Mad Hatter. Но на самом деле, да, безумный, безумный. Верно, как в Алисе. Но на самом деле это не Льюис Кэрролл, кто придумал такое выражение. Дело в том, что в 18-19 веках, когда люди создавали шляпы, производили шляпы, они использовали соединение ртути. И часто получали отравление или хроническое отравление у них было. Называли их безумцами из-за каких-то проявлений этого отравления, из-за каких-то измененных состояний. Поэтому говорили, что это безумный шляпник. Сходят с ума, да, Муслим, верно. А потом Льюис Кэрролл использовал в «Алисе в стране чудес» эту фразу, а потом оно в язык вошло. И мы уже знаем, что такое mad as a hatter, безумный шляпник. Люди придали более комичный образ этой фразе. Okay, have a look at the other one here. Yes, Mark, you're right. I'm gonna come to that, okay? Call it a day. Appeared at a workplace during the 1830s, like 1838 and later, and then started to be used in 1919. Звонить. Называть скорее, да, Тамерлан? называть днем. На сегодня хватит. Да, Софи, на сегодня хватит. Фраза появилась как фраза, которую люди использовали на рабочем месте. Изначально выглядела как call it half a day. Назовем это так, что полдня прошло, можно идти отдыхать. А уже в 1919 году фраза начала использоваться без half, call it a day. Все, на сегодня все, отдыхаем. Используем эту фразу в конце урока. Okay? Batter someone up. Tibetan or Indian tradition. Call it a day, Muslim? Yeah, sure. People used to say that phrase, call it a half a day at a workplace to say that the work day is over. You can go home, have rest. And then in 1990, it lost that a half. And it started to look like this. Call it a day. Time to have rest. Okay? Talking about this one, batter someone up, a Tibetan or Indian tradition. The origin is debatable, but let's say an old Indian tradition made people to throw batter or batter some statues of God to seek forgiveness or to seek fortune. And yes, you're right, Muslim. Right. And a Tibetan tradition made people create statues from sculptures of gods from batter. Right. Well done. A fish out of water. Great job. Yes, Sophie, great. Batter someone up. Абсолютно верно, да. Умасливать кого-то появилось от тибетской или от традиции из Индии, старой традиции. Есть предполагаемые основания их к ним отнести, происхождение этого выражения, но все-таки спор происходит. Все-таки тибетское или индийское. Видела варианты caught red-handed. Yeah, you catch someone red-handed because it comes from an old English law in 1432 when someone, let's say, stole a piglet or a hen, chopped the head for food, and the hands of that thief were in blood. They were red, and the person was caught. Okay? Talking about, I'm gonna stop on a couple more. Let's say break the ice. Остановлюсь еще на одно. Если вам интересно, почитайте. Здесь есть еще интересные выражения. Break the ice as ломать лед. Верно, прекратить стесняться. Yeah, stop being shy. But it appeared during the 1580s and was connected with trade routes. People had to chop the ice, use small chips and chop the ice, crack the ice for the bigger ships to come through. Trade routes made people break the ice and connected people. Very good, right, listener? Good. My question here is, where do idioms and collocations come from nowadays? The language keeps evolving. Remember, new words are created, new phrases are created, they become popular. For the text, the question is, where do idioms and collocations come from nowadays? Yes, talking about burning ears, right? From our everyday life, very good, Mark. Yes, talking about the progress, right? We get a new toy, it has to get a name. Good. Can you just create a word? Can you just create a collocation or an idiom? From social media, right? Good. From our life, from social media, from progress. I think so, Muslim. From business, right? A good phrase, it's all Greek to me, Tamilan. From different books. Not only books, you know. What about movies? Books, movies, TV shows, series. Definitely, you are right. Right, Senia? Yes, that's right, Senia, you're right. From movies, right? Good. Books, films, and so on. I'm going to show you some of the phrases and words that became popular again thanks to the movies. The first one here, faith is my sword, truth is my shield, knowledge my armor. Said by Stephen Strange at Doctor Strange. Okay. Елизавета, что написано, это слова или фразы, которые стали узнаваемыми благодаря телевидению, благодаря фильмам или сериалам. Мы начнем с вами с нескольких супергероев, и потом вам покажу, какие еще к нам пришли, тоже с экранов. Memes, right, Andrew? Very good one. Андрей предвосхитил мой следующий вопрос. Хотел спросить, а можно ли просто взять и придумать слово, выдумать его из головы? На самом деле, да. А кто вам помешает? Вопрос, приживется ли оно? Да, в качестве шутки можно это сделать. Ага. I believe the first one, Muslim. I hope I'm not mistaken. The second one, part of the journey is the end, said by Tony Stark. Or Endgame. You know, Avengers Endgame. But the actual word wasn't created by Marvel. Okay? The actual word comes from chess. When people play chess and there are so many pieces left on the board, the stage of the game is called endgame. Okay? Right, Vlad? And what about the multiverse? It's not something created by superheroes, right? It's a term from cosmology, from physics, first recorded in 1952. So many of them actually appeared that way. For example, here, look. Very close, right, Mark? Right. You are right, Mariasha. Thank you. Okay, like The Perfect Storm. That's the name of a disaster film and a book describing a situation when everything is collapsing. That became a new phrase to describe Murphy's Law, which means if anything can go wrong, it will. So something about happening all at once. Then, talking about a friend zone. Friend zone is a phrase that came into life from screen. It was created, kind of combined, in 1994 in an episode of Friends. Good. Yes, and we can use that now, exactly. Why would you say that, Olga? Okay. Talking about a bucket list. That's a movie from 2007 describing the things that people want to do in their life before they die, actually, in their life. Gaslight. Now, it's a psychological term when someone makes another person doubt their sanity, but it actually appeared from the same cold movie in 1944 about a woman who saw a ghosty house with the gas light dimming by itself. Yeah, some Simpsons there, right? Have you ever heard that duh in English in series, TV shows, movies? What about that one? Duh. Very simple one. Looks simple, short, but what is the meaning? Yeah, it came from The Simpsons in 1988. It was recorded in the 50s earlier, but The Simpsons made it popular. Yeah, you're right, Sava. An American movie, right? Yeah, the meaning here is like oops or ouch. When you feel that you did something awkward or that's like a face palm with ta. The same interjection that came from The Simpsons in 1994 was meh, like not interested, not entertaining, okay? Talking about a deal breaker. That was the name of a show broadcasted by 30 Rock about relationships, something that you are not okay with that, okay? So you think that if someone is into fantasy movies like crazy, like I am, they're not your kind of people. You would say, that is a deal breaker for me. Right, some Star Wars there. Valik, that is British and American. Talking about this one, look, sorry about that. A very simple phrase that practically everybody has said in their life, right? But it actually appeared in a TV show in the late 1960s. Right, thank you. Good. The words like droid or the dark side appeared on Star Wars, actually Star Wars Episode 4 in New Hope, and droid as a short for android or robot. Do you know any droids? Let me know in the chat. Or the dark side, right? Something that is ferocious or evil inside of a person, inside of someone's minds. Right, exactly, Mark. Exactly, Muslim, right, like R2D2 with C3PO, definitely. And the last one that I'm going to talk to you about is the red pill that came into the language from the Matrix. Okay, so that is about finding out the truth about the reality, finding out something that you're not going to be happy with, but that kind of the truth. Okay? Yes, right, Mark. Good. Very good. Okay, guys, now it's time for your questions. While you are thinking, I'm going to sum it up. Right, I read. Good. He is Muslim. Today we were talking about the English language history and how the language kind of evolved and changed. We compared the Victorian era to the present day, had a look at the phrases with historical origins, and had a look at words and phrases that were invented on screen. Is there anything that you'd like to ask me? Andrew, thank you. You guys are. Sure. Time for your questions. We have like 5 to 7 minutes to discuss something that you're interested in. Let me know. While you're texting? Think so. Презентация. Sure, there will be a presentation sent to you. Right, Olga. Not targeting with that. I promised you to come back to this one. So some more old English today. Something even stranger than this one. So that sounds like Bethap I Aurehanda to believe in hell. Is there anything that looks familiar? Дарья, that is something that you can do while studying history. Дарья, на самом деле все вы можете на русском и сами почитать наверняка, если будете изучать историю, потому что все, что мы сегодня с вами обсуждали, неразрывно связано, конечно, с историей. Мы говорили о словах и фразах, которые в язык пришли из других языков, и почему они это сделали, из-за каких исторических событий, о фразах, которые в языке прижились, опять же, из-за особенностей какого-то времени, о фразах и словах, которые популяризируют сейчас с помощью фильмов, которые корнями уходят в прошлое. А также мы с вами поговорили о том, что иногда слова, фразы, идиомы могут выдумать, и вы можете это тоже сделать в качестве каких-то цепляющих фраз, в качестве цитат, в качестве сравнений, если мы говорим о фильмах, книгах, мемах, шутках, названиях для новых предметов. Mostly we do it when there are so many people, like you guys are here today. It is amazing, right? I can agree. The history of the language is so deep, vast, and intriguing. Thank you too, Sophie. A very good question from Artyom. How did Shakespeare create new words? Well, did he actually create them? He did, actually. He created lots of words, but more of that was done with the combination of words. Plus, imagine, he needed some descriptions or descriptive language. Descriptive language is средство художественной выразительности, right? If you are a writer, you can afford that. По поводу Шекспира вопрос, как же Шекспир просто взял и выдумал некоторые слова? Да, некоторые выдумал, некоторые совместил интересным образом, где-то использовал средства художественной выразительности, которые людям понравились и прижились. В интернете можно найти сравнение количества использованных слов разными людьми. Например, какими-то рэперами, певцами, писателями, поэтами и так далее. Очень интересно. Шекспир там, мне кажется, превосходит чуть ли не всех. Ну, конечно, нет, не всех, но большинство. Thank you so much for your kind words there in the chat. Thank you, Muslim, as well. Yes, Mark, sure. Yes, Olga, why not? Definitely. Yes, right. There is an example about a meme in the chat. This is the end of the lesson, but I'm here to answer your questions if you have any. And if there is anyone who wants to guess this one, I'm also here. Stranger Things, right? Stranger Things popularized some of the words that were not used before. Well, I mean, nowadays. Because Stranger Things is not about 2022. Even the phrase like, do you copy? We do not say that, but now, thanks to Stranger Things, some of them came back into the language. Definitely. Definitely. Course about Simpsons, I'm not sure if it's going to be appropriate. Because, you know, some of the jokes there are debatable. And we are at school. Thank you too, Tatiana. Thank you, Senya. Okay. Do not see any more questions, so I'm going to say goodbye to you guys. Thank you for being here with us today. Definitely come to say hi and study with us next year. I hope to see you in my English lessons. Have a good day, everyone, and stay cool. Bye.